Hello guys, and welcome back to yet another video. Now today we're doing something a bit different on the channel. We are doing a movie discussion on Halloween. Now if you noticed on the channel before on Frozen Particle, I did do two Halloween reviews, the first Halloween and obviously Halloween 2, the 1981 version. MJ and I, we did both reviews on that, so you can go check those reviews out. Links are in the description. But I wanted to do something a bit different and talk about Halloween 2018, the new reboot sequel, to the franchise, and we wanted to talk about one twist in particular, and I'm not alone as I am joined by MJxTV.
What's going on, Particle? Thank you for having me back on the channel. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. And the twist that we are talking about is, of course, the spoilers if you want to, just click off the video now, but the movie's been out for a good while, so it's spoilers, whatever. The Doctor Sartain twist, and that is a controversial one, probably the most shocking twist and the most shocking moment in the movie. How Dr. Sartain, he puts on the mask and he betrays the police officers because he wants to see Michael all out in the wild. He wants to see how he reacts, and he just wants to see Michael go free, and basically he wants to study Michael, see how he ticks, and then he gets killed by Michael later on in the film. So I'm going to just hand it over to MJ. What did you feel about this twist? And we've been talking off air, and since the movie's been out for a while, we have some time to digest what happened and how it happened and how it makes us feel. So what do you think of the Dr. Sartain twist?
Now, going into this film, I knew there was going to be another doctor, and I kind of knew in my heart of hearts that they were most likely going to want to fulfill that void of Loomis. And I was telling myself, please don't give us a Loomis. Please don't give us a Loomis 2.0, because nobody can be Dr. Loomis. The original Halloween from 1978 gave us Dr. Loomis, gave us that iconic character that shook the very foundation of the horror franchise that everybody just remembers from John Carpenter's Halloween and all of the sequels that followed. So nobody could really reprise a role that could really match that, and I can't even really blame anyone for even thinking they could match that. And I was just thinking in my head, please do not try to make somebody take on a role that is supposed to even be close to that. I did not want that. However, we got that. And I was wondering what the role for that character was going to be throughout the film, because unlike Loomis, that doctor is very kind of subdued in the background for a good portion of that film. Yeah, we see him in the beginning, but after the bus scene, the crash, we don't really see him too often. He's just kind of there. We know he's there, but he's just kind of in the background, if you know what I mean. And we do see him later show up, and he teams up with the deputy, but that's about it, We don't really see him too much. And then, of course, the twist comes up. Now, I was okay with the twist. I do think it was a bit cheesy. Now, it's a double-edged sword for me, and I've reiterated this to you many times since I've seen the movie Frozen, and that is because it's a double-edged sword. I'm happy that it wasn't a Loomis 2.0 situation. However, I wasn't happy with the way they executed it, because it just felt a bit too cheesy. He came off a bit too evil. I didn't like the fact that he was the one who ended up killing the deputy. I didn't like the fact that he came off, coming off and putting the mask on. I don't know, man. I think they just could have handled it a bit better. I think they still could have made him as the clutch to get Michael to Laurie. That would have been fine. I think all that extra stuff was just a little too extra.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and it kind of does explain a couple of plot points in the movie, like how did, Michael escape and how did the bus crash, that's pretty, coincidental, but, you could basically equal it to Doctor Sartain. He made the bus crash. He sort of orchestrated this, and he was adamant on going onto the bus with the patients and with Michael. So he was the one who orchestrated the bus crash. Like, that's just no doubt in my mind. And it kind of explains, the coincidences in the film. And I like the polar opposite of Loomis, because Loomis in the original film, he just wanted to see Michael either locked up or just dead, because he is pure evil and you cannot explain him. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have Sartain, who really wants to figure out Michael, and he's willing to put him out in the wild and to put other people in danger in order for him to figure out what's going on with Michael, and for, the psychology of him, and just to figure him out for the science of it. And I kind of like that. Now, him putting on the mask and he's like, I can feel this power. Like, I don't know, I kind of felt that was a bit cheesy. But I did like the fact that Sartain was different than Loomis, as you were saying, and you can't replace Loomis. I mean, he shot Michael 6 times, and Sartain can't step up to the plate, But I did like how Sartain was a different character, and I felt like it was kind of hammy how Laurie was like, "You're the new Loomis." So I'm glad that was shattered, basically, because that was a little like too on the nose for me. And he did orchestrate the bus crash, and he did do things behind the scenes to basically make Michael go out into the wild. And I don't mind that little twist that, he was the one orchestrating all behind the scenes. He wanted to get Michael out in the wild to kill people, and he wanted to see how he acts, and he wanted him to speak. I like all of that. I feel like that's a pretty cool idea, because it plays with that idea of obsession, and this whole movie revolves around people obsessed with Michael in many, many different ways. Laurie is kind of acting like the new Loomis, how he just wants him, she just wants him to be just killed and locked up for the rest of his days. She just wants that closure. So does Loomis. They're tired, they're old, they just want them, like Michael, to die, you know what I'm saying? And they want to make sure that they get the job done. While Sartain, he's obsessed with Michael, but in a different sense. I kind of like that sort of differentiating narrative with all of the characters involved. And I don't know, again, it's a double-edged sword. One, I like how it covers up for the different plot points, and I like that it's different, like he's different from Loomis, and I also like the fact that he's on the other side of the spectrum, and he's trying to get Michael to talk and to basically interact with people to try to get a feel and try to explain them. And Dr. Sartain very much acts like the fan base, because the fan base, the Halloween fans, really want to explain Michael and psychoanalyze Michael, and it just can't be done. That's what the main point of this movie is, to just say, hey, Michael Myers, you can't explain him, he's just a killer, and he's just the pure embodiment of evil. But nobody seems to understand that in the fan base, and it seems like Sartain is sort of the audience surrogate for that. So I kind of find that pretty interesting. But again, him putting on the mask and, him feeling the power of the mask, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of cheesy, and that really took me out of the scene, how he put the mask on, and it was like, okay, like, we're seriously doing this? And it was just pretty unrealistic. But the idea of him, like a corrupt doctor, not really corrupt, just an obsessed doctor with his work, him wanting to endanger lives just for his science and just to see how how Michael ticks. Pretty interesting concept, I must say, but a bit hammy and over the top, especially when he puts on the mask.
Yeah, it comes off as cheesy, but at the end of the day, it's still a very compelling and interesting way to handle things. And I think that movie overall, whether you hate it, whether you think it's overrated, whether you don't like it, it does come off with some interesting ideas. Obviously, John Carpenter was involved. Obviously, Gordon, obviously Green, they all had some love and care for that film, because there's some underlying elements that I think makes that film pop, compared to some of the other sequels that came out, Resurrection. So, that film does have some interesting ideas behind it, and I think some of the things you brought up, like Doctor Sartain and what happened with him, and the comparison to the fans and just stuff like that. I think that's a very compelling way to look at him and look at the twist and just kind of the way he's a contrast to Loomis. Like, there's so many ways you can break apart his character, and obviously none of this stuff is really specifically stated to us, but you can kind of, again, break that apart. And the same with Laurie, which we could probably touch upon in a future video. There's certain elements in this movie that you can just kind of break that stuff apart and dissect, and I think that's the beauty of this film. So again, if you love it or hate it, and whether you hate this twist or not, when you break it down to its core, there's a lot of underlining elements that I think it's interesting. I think, loathe this twist, but at the same time, I don't necessarily like it either. It's interesting though, it really is, and I think the way they went about it is interesting. I'm not a fan of the fact that he, felt the power of it, I'm not a fan of that, but still though, they used him as a clutch to get Michael to Laurie, because in this version, they are not related and Michael does not give a shit about Laurie, so it makes sense to use him. They needed to get Michael to Laurie, to her hideout, to her secret place. So that makes sense, I guess. But at the same time, though, I don't know. I think it could have been handled a bit better.
Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely. And I feel like that's a real twist of a movie, how Laurie is so obsessed with Michael and Michael doesn't give a shit, because you'd expect it to be like, Michael is just gunning after Laurie. That's what I expected, because she approached his doorstep, 40 years ago, and just wrong place, wrong time. I thought that was going to be the whole, thing of the movie, but no, Michael doesn't give a shit, which is another video, and we can go into the psychology of Michael and sort of psychoanalyze him ourselves. I think that's an interesting topic, but yeah, Halloween 2018, whether you love the Sartain twist or hate it, I'd rather it be in the film than not. I'm glad that the Sartain twist is in the film, because one, it gives us something to talk about, and two, it's just an interesting concept, but crappy execution, but I'm still glad it's in there, and I'm glad that Sartain has differentiating factors and characteristics than Loomis. I don't want a Loomis 2.0 because you cannot replace Donald Pleasance, and I'm glad they did something different, even though it was kind of hammy, and, as we said, he felt the power of the mask. It felt like an anime, it felt like a cartoon, but oh well. But yeah, guys,
like He-Man, right? I have the power, right?
Exactly. And I don't know, I hope the mask stuff, I hope that gets explored in the sequel. But that's going to do it for us. Please make sure to check out MJxTV, and in particular, go check out the Texas Chainsaw Massacre versus Halloween video that we did. He's going to upload that in a couple of days. Please go make sure to check that out and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, so please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.